bread pudding. That's what we're making today with some leftover panettone. Hey, stay tuned. I'm going to show you how.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and
Hey, welcome everybody. And it was about a year ago that I did some leftover panettone and I made it into French toast. And I figured, hey, I got another one. Actually, I intentionally bought an extra panettone this year because I was thinking about doing this. And I know a lot of people have some leftover panettone around this time of year. So I figured, hey, let's try making some bread pudding with it. I'm sure it's going to come out and we'll go from there. Now, I can almost tell you that this recipe exists all over the world in some form or version. And boy, this goes back. I mean, I'm talking about, we're talking timeless classics. Well, this recipe goes back, oh gosh, probably to, not this exact recipe, but this goes back, bread pudding goes back to like the 11th, 12th century, all the way back to England. So when frugal cooks would, they wouldn't throw anything away. And whatever bread scraps they had, they'd go ahead and conserve it. They'd add some spices, some cream or whatever to it, and bake it off and create this wonderful dessert. So that's what we're going to do today. Let me just go over the ingredients real quick with you. And I've got some panettone. Now normally this recipe asks for about 6 slices of stale bread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dice out what I think is about 6 slices of bread. I'm still going to have some left over too, so I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with that. So we have 4 eggs that I have here. We got about 3 tablespoons of melted butter. I've got a teaspoon of cinnamon, 3/4 cup of sugar. I've also got some cranberries. I'm going to kind of put a little New England twist on this. I got some cranberries that I've been soaking in bourbon for about an hour, so I'm going to use some of that. And I'm going to save the bourbon because I'm going to kind of make a sauce to go over the bread pudding at the end. A nice, my twist on a vanilla sauce. So that's pretty. Oh, we can't forget, I've also got 2 cups of milk here that we're going to use. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to cut up the bread. We're going to pour the butter over the bread. Then we're going to make a custard with the eggs, the cinnamon, the sugar, and the milk. Pour that over the bread, kind of let it soak in. Push it down a little bit so we make sure that it all soaks in. Get it in a 350-degree oven for about 40 to 45 minutes. Pull it out. We should have one heck of a bread pudding. So let me kind of get things situated over here. I'll get cutting this up. And my butter was melted, but it's kind of solidified now. So I'm going to go ahead and remelt this down, and we'll get cracking. So we'll be right back. Okay, so I have 6 slices of panettone here that I'm going to dice up. Very simply here. I've got them sliced. I'm going to make some rather large dices on this. You could tear this up as well. And you could use any bread. Leftover donuts, leftover French toast, leftover stale French bread or Italian bread, hamburgers, hot dog rolls, I mean anything. Don't throw your bread away. You can always use bread, whatever bread, for bread pudding. All right. I've got this diced up. Now what I'm going to do is put it in the baking vessel here. But I want to do is make sure that this is not going to burn to the bottom or stick to the bottom. So I'm going to spray the bottom with some non-stick spray. Get the bread into the baking dish. Not make a mess like I am right now. Alrighty. So there's my bread. Go ahead and pour my butter melted butter, 3 tablespoons, over the bread. Now I've got my raisins, my craisins, and I'm going to sprinkle those over the top of the bread. I'm going to save this bourbon. Like I said earlier, got plans for it. Now you don't have to add this. You could add just regular raisins or craisins, some other dried fruits like apricots, what have you. There we go. My craisins are in there. Now, what I need to do is I need to make my custard. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take my 4 eggs, crack them, scramble them, add my milk, my sugar, my cinnamon, make like the custard, get it poured over here, and then continue on. So let me wash my hands, clean up my little board here a little bit because I don't want crumbs all over the place, and we'll get back on this. Alrighty, let's get these eggs cracked, whisked up, our other ingredients incorporated, so we can have our little custard to go over our bread. So, like I said, 4 eggs. Go ahead. Well, I'm always making a mess. Get these whisked up, scrambled, whisked, whatever you want to call it. Go in there with the 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. That smells good. I love cinnamon. Go in with my sugar. Get this incorporated. And then we'll go in with our milk. If I don't make a huge mess here, just kind of stir this in. You could use half and half. I've done that before. Works out really nice. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and thoroughly mix this custard up. Then we'll go ahead, pour it over our bread and our craisins, our drunken craisins. Grab the bread, get this poured over. This smells good right now without even baking it. Now we want to push this down. Make sure that all this bread absorbs that custard. This is going to puff up so nicely in that oven when it bakes. I mean, it's love this. I mean, first time I ever had it, believe it or not, was in the Navy. Didn't even know this existed. My mom never really made it. And one of our bakers, phenomenal baker, he was in the Air Force. This was over in Naples, Italy, and he would every morning collect all the leftover pancakes, French toast, stale bread, whatever. He was grabbing it. He'd fill this huge tub up, and every Friday he made the best bread pudding. I wish I remember his name. Anyways, this is ready to go. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to put this in the oven. Let it stay in there for at least 40 minutes. We'll check on it, and there we go. Oven is preheated to 350, so I'll get this in. We'll come back and we'll start on the sauce. So we'll be right back. Well, we're back, and it's been about 45 minutes. And would you feast your eyes on this? Oh, nicely golden brown on top, smelling absolutely fantastic. The whole entire house smells fantastic. Now I'm just kind of going to jiggle this around a little bit, and it is nice and set up, and it feels so nice and light. Unlike some bread puddings, mainly because I use the Panettone, so it has a little bit lighter texture to it. This is going to be like, I don't know, I don't want to say putting in a cloud, but this is going to be like biting into a cloud. I can just tell this is going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of sauce. So I'm going to make a bourbon sauce to go over this, a vanilla bourbon sauce. So what I'm going to do right now is get this started over here, lit. I'm going to go in with 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to melt that down. When it starts to get brown, I'm going to go ahead and add a tablespoon of brown sugar. I'm going to add about a 1/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to go in with about 2 teaspoons, or actually 2/3 of a teaspoon of that leftover bourbon that I had that I was soaking my raisins in. And what I hope to do is come up with a nice bourbon sauce to go over my bread pudding. Now you could do all sorts of other things, like a scoop of ice cream on top of your bread pudding. I've seen a lot of people do that. Whipped topping with a little sprinkle of cinnamon. I mean, just so many different things. You can just have it on its own, like pretty much what I'm going to do today, except for making that bourbon sauce. So many different options to go as far as topping your bread pudding, and this here I'm hoping is one of them that you may pick up on. So what I'm doing now is melting the butter, and I'm going to get a little bit brown. I'm going to basically baking brown butter, and like I said, I'll add the brown sugar to this, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of bourbon. We'll scoop this out into the dish here, and this is going to be out of this world. So the butter is getting a little brown here, looking good. So I'm going to go a little bit further with this. Don't want to burn it, but we do want it to go a little bit brown. Okay, so there we go. We are brown. In goes my brown sugar. Melt that brown sugar down. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Huh. This smells good. I mean, just brown sugar and butter. Nice. Kind of emulsify that. So what I'm going to do now is add a little bit of vanilla. Like I said, probably about 1/3 of a teaspoon. There we go. Be careful, it does splatter. Whisk that together. And that's looking nice. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and kill the heat on this. I don't want it to go hard. That's looking fantastic. It's going to smell fantastic, or it smells, it's going to taste fantastic. So I've let this cool down a little bit, this bread pudding. Get that in my dish. I'm in bread pudding heaven right now. Go over this with my bourbon sauce. A little more. And there you have it. Bread pudding, Panettone bread pudding with a bourbon sauce. Let me do a little bit of business here. Hey, if you enjoy my videos, please hit the like button, subscribe, and most importantly, share. So this episode shout out. This episode is dedicated to all you sailors currently out there on a med cruise. Hopefully everything's going great for you. No major issues going on, and that you're home safely and quickly. So this episode is dedicated to you sailors out there in the Mediterranean. All right, let's go in and give this a try. And it's so light. It's like a cloud. The Panettone it was a good call. All right, don't want to burn myself here. You can serve this cold. I wouldn't recommend it, but hot is great. Like I said, maybe a scoop of ice cream on it, let it melt down a little bit. All right, enough talking. Let's get into trying this. Wow. This was like, wow, this is good. Another one. Melt in your mouth. The Panettone, fantastic. The flavors. I used a vanilla Panettone. You could use a chocolate chip. You could use the traditional panettone that has the dried fruits. The bourbon sauce is spot on. You saw how easy it is to make. You've got to try it. And I may see a version of this coming out for a air fryer. I'm thinking if you're only cooking for 1 or 2 people, maybe reduce the amounts of the ingredients, pop it in an air fryer. That may be coming up soon. So hey, that's pretty much a wrap here. I've already done the if you like the video and all that sort of stuff. So hey, please subscribe right over here. Punch my logo. So until next time, thanks, and we'll see you.